When Supergiant Games first unveiled Hades II, fans of the original masterpiece were immediately captivated by a mysterious new protagonist. Gone was Zagreus, the rebellious prince of the underworld we had grown to love. In his place stood a figure shrouded in moonlight and shadow, wielding powers that seemed to blur the very boundaries between life and death, light and darkness. This was our introduction to Melinoe, and from the moment she graced our screens, it became clear that her story would be far more complex and layered than many initially realized. Melinoe is not just another character in the Hades universe. She represents a fundamental shift in how Supergiant Games approaches mythological storytelling, weaving together ancient Greek traditions with innovative narrative design that challenges our understanding of family, duty, and identity within the House of Hades. While Zagreus fought to escape his father's realm, Melinoe embarks on a journey that forces her to confront not just external enemies, but the very nature of her own existence. The name Melinoe itself carries weight that extends far beyond the confines of the game. In ancient Greek mythology, she was a chthonic goddess associated with ghosts, nightmares, and madness. She was said to be born from the union of Persephone and Hades, but her birth was marked by deception and transformation. The mythological Melinoe was described as having a dual nature, with one half of her body bright and divine, while the other half was dark and terrifying. This duality would become central to understanding not just the mythological figure, but how Supergiant Games has adapted and expanded upon these ancient stories. If you enjoy topics like this, I'd really appreciate a quick like or even a subscribe. It helps more than you know. I'm always curious where you all are listening from. So, drop a comment with your location and what time it is there. Love seeing our little global community connect through similar interests. Now, dim the lights and let's ease into tonight's journey together. What makes Melinoe particularly fascinating in the context of Hades 2 is how her character serves as both a continuation of the themes established in the original game and a complete reimagining of what it means to be a child of the Underworld. Where Zagreus represented rebellion against paternal authority and the desire for connection with the surface world, Melinoe embodies something far more complex. She is a bridge between worlds, a figure who exists in the liminal spaces between order and chaos, between the familiar comfort of family and the terrifying unknown of her true purpose. The development team at Supergiant Games has always excelled at creating characters who feel both mythologically authentic and refreshingly modern. With Melinoe, they have crafted a protagonist whose every aspect, from her visual design to her combat abilities to her relationships with other characters, reflects deep research into ancient sources while simultaneously pushing the boundaries of what these classical figures can represent in contemporary storytelling. Her role as a witch, a practitioner of magic in a world where divine power typically flows through more traditional channels, immediately sets her apart from her brother Zagreus. While he relied on the boons of various Olympian gods and underworld denizens, Melinoe's power seems to come from within, channeled through arcane knowledge and mystical practices that hint at secrets hidden deep within the foundations of the Greek mythological cosmos. The visual design of Melinoe tells a story in itself. Her heterochromia, with one eye bright and one dark, directly references the dual nature described in ancient texts. Her clothing, her posture, even the way shadows seem to cling to her form, all speak to a character who exists between states of being. She is neither fully of the underworld nor entirely separate from it. She is neither completely divine nor wholly mortal. This ambiguity is not a weakness in her characterization, but rather its greatest strength. As we delve deeper into her story, we discover that Melinoe's relationships with the established characters from the first game reveal new layers of complexity to the House of Hades itself. Her interactions with Hades, with Persephone, with the various shades and minor gods who populate the underworld, all serve to expand our understanding of the family dynamics and political structures that govern this realm of the dead. The timing of Melinoe's emergence as a protagonist is particularly significant. Hades II takes place during a period of crisis, when familiar structures are under threat and new powers are rising. Melinoe finds herself thrust into a role she may not have chosen, forced to navigate dangers that threaten not just her own existence but the stability of the entire cosmological order. This setup allows Supergiant Games to explore themes of responsibility, legacy, and the weight of expectations in ways that feel both epic in scope and intimately personal. Her magical abilities, centered around witchcraft and lunar power, represent a departure from the more straightforward combat mechanics of the original game, while maintaining the fluid, engaging gameplay that made Hades such a success. But these powers are more than just gameplay mechanics. They reflect deeper truths about Melinoe's nature and her place in the larger mythological framework that Supergiant Games has constructed. The hidden lore surrounding Melinoe extends far beyond what is immediately apparent to players. Her connections to ancient mystery cults, her potential relationships with figures from Greek mythology who have not yet appeared in the games, and the implications of her unique position as a child of both Hades and Persephone all point to story possibilities that could reshape our understanding of the entire Hades universe. Throughout this exploration, we will uncover the secrets that make Melinoe not just a compelling protagonist, but a character whose very existence challenges and expands the mythological foundations upon which both Hades games are built. From her origins in ancient Greek religious practices to her role as a modern gaming icon, from her complex family relationships to her unique magical abilities, Melinoe represents the evolution of mythological storytelling in interactive media. The journey ahead will take us through the deepest mysteries of the Underworld, into the heart of family secrets that span generations, and toward an understanding of how one character can embody the entire thematic richness of a universe that continues to surprise and delight players around the world. Chapter 1: Origins in Shadow and Light, the mythological foundation of Melinoe. Melinoe. To understand Melinoe, we must first journey back to the ancient world, to the very text that birthed her. Unlike some figures who enjoy widespread recognition, Melinoe's presence in classical literature is elusive. She isn't a household name like Zeus or Poseidon. Her appearances are fleeting, almost spectral, much like the goddess herself. The primary source for understanding Melinoe lies within the Orphic hymns, a collection of 87 religious poems used in ancient Greece, likely for ritualistic purposes. These hymns offer glimpses into the beliefs and practices of Orphism, a mystery religion that emphasized reincarnation, purification, and the power of music and poetry to connect with the divine. And it's here, in hymn 71, that Melinoe emerges from the shadows. The hymn invokes her as a saffron-robed goddess, a key-keeper who leads mortals to the mysteries. But even more striking is the description of her dual nature. She is described as both dark and light, a being whose form shifts and changes, reflecting the interplay between the underworld and the mortal realm. Consider the imagery. Saffron, a vibrant spice, evokes warmth and light. Yet she is also described as dark, suggesting a connection to the chthonic forces, the spirits of the earth and the underworld. This duality isn't a contradiction, it's the very essence of Melinoe. She embodies the liminal space between worlds, the threshold where life and death, light and darkness intertwine. Now, you might be wondering, how did Supergiant Games take this relatively obscure figure and transform her into the protagonist of Hades II? The answer lies in their masterful ability to weave together fragments of mythology, to breathe new life into ancient stories while staying true to their core essence. Supergiant didn't simply pluck Melinoe from the Orphic hymns and drop her into the game. They carefully considered the existing lore, the themes of family, fate, and rebellion that resonated so powerfully in the first Hades, and then expanded upon them. They asked themselves, what does it mean for a goddess to be born of both light and darkness? What kind of powers would she possess? What would her relationship be like with her family, especially given the unusual circumstances of her birth? And that brings us to the most unsettling aspect of Melinoe's origin story, the deception of Persephone. According to some accounts, Melinoe is the daughter of Persephone and Zeus. However, a darker version of the tale, and the one seemingly embraced by Supergiant Games, paints a far more disturbing picture. In this version, Hades, the lord of the underworld, disguises himself as Zeus and seduces Persephone, resulting in Melinoe's birth. Pause for a moment and let that sink in. A goddess born of deception, of a violation of trust. It's a far cry from the traditional narratives of divine unions. This isn't a tale of love or even lust. It's a story of manipulation and the abuse of power. And how does this impact Melinoe? Imagine the weight of that knowledge, the burden of knowing that your very existence is rooted in a lie. It's a powerful foundation for a character driven by a desire for justice, for a yearning to break free from the shadows of the past. This traumatic origin also provides a compelling explanation for her connection to ghosts and nightmares. In ancient Greek belief, Melinoe was often associated with restless spirits, with the phantoms that haunted the edges of sleep. She was seen as a bringer of nightmares, a goddess who could unleash the terrors of the underworld upon the mortal world. But why? Was she simply malevolent? Or was there a deeper reason for her association with these darker aspects of existence? Perhaps, as a child born of deception, Melinoe felt a kinship with those who were lost, forgotten or wronged. Perhaps she saw herself in the tormented souls that wandered the underworld, and she sought to give voice to their suffering. Consider this. Nightmares, while terrifying, can also be a form of communication. They can reveal hidden fears, unresolved traumas, and aspects of ourselves that we try to suppress. Melinoe, as a goddess of nightmares, might not simply be inflicting terror. She might be trying to show us something, to force us to confront the darkness within ourselves. And this, I believe, is where Supergiant Games truly shines. They take these complex, often contradictory elements of mythology and weave them into a narrative that is both engaging and thought-provoking. They don't shy away from the darker aspects of the myths. Instead, they embrace them, using them to create characters that are complex, flawed, and ultimately deeply human. Think about the original Hades. Zagreus, the prince of the underworld, was driven by a desire for freedom, a yearning to escape the suffocating control of his father. He was a rebel, a defiant spirit who challenged the established order. Melinoe, in many ways, is a reflection of Zagreus. She too is driven by a desire for freedom, but her motivations are perhaps even more complex. She's not just fighting against her father's control, she's fighting against the very circumstances of her birth, against the darkness that threatens to consume her. The game's narrative framework cleverly utilizes Melinoe's mythological role as a goddess of ghosts and nightmares. The underworld, as we know, is populated by shades, by the remnants of those who have passed on. And Melinoe, as a mistress of spirits, can interact with these shades in ways that Zagreus could not. She can summon them, command them, and perhaps even offer them solace. This ability to interact with the dead is not just a gameplay mechanic, it's a reflection of her character, of her connection to the underworld, and of her desire to understand the mysteries of life and death. It also presents exciting possibilities for storytelling, for exploring the histories and the traumas of those who have been lost to time. Furthermore, her power over nightmares could manifest in various ways throughout the game. Perhaps she can enter the dreams of her enemies, manipulating their fears and turning them against themselves. Or perhaps she can use nightmares to glean information, to uncover hidden secrets and unravel the mysteries that lie at the heart of the unfolding crisis. But what exactly is this crisis? What is the threat that forces Melinoe to step out of the shadows and into the spotlight? And how does her unique mythological foundation inform her role in the events to come? The answers, as you might suspect, are far more complex than they initially appear. The game isn't simply about defeating a powerful enemy, it's about confronting the consequences of past actions, about challenging the established order, and about forging a new path forward even in the face of overwhelming darkness. Consider the weight of expectation placed upon her shoulders. She is, after all, the only one who can seemingly restore balance to the House of Hades. She is the last hope. The weight of the entire underworld rests on her shoulders. But to fully grasp the gravity of the situation, we need to delve deeper into Melinoe's powers, her unique abilities, and her magical heritage. We need to understand how her skills differ from those of her brother, Zagreus, and how she utilizes the forces of lunar magic, necromancy, and spirit summoning to achieve her goals. Because next, we explore the Witch Princess and the lore surrounding her abilities. Chapter 2. The Witch Princess. Powers, Abilities, and Magical Heritage. Melinoe, the Witch Princess, arrives not just as a character, but as a paradigm shift in the very nature of power within the House of Hades. Zagreus, for all his fiery defiance, was a warrior, a physical force tearing through the underworld. But Melinoe, she operates on a different plane entirely, a mistress of magic whose abilities intertwine with the very fabric of existence. Forget brute strength. Melinoe wields the unseen currents, the whispers of the dead, the ebb and flow of lunar tides. This isn't the divine power of the Olympians, a power often expressed through overt displays of dominance. This is something older, something primal, something witch-like. But what does that in the context of Hades II? It means a shift in gameplay, yes, but more importantly, a shift in narrative focus. Where Zagreus relied on Olympian boons to augment his combat prowess, Melinoe draws power from sources steeped in mystery and shadow. Think lunar magic, the manipulation of moonlight and its associated symbolism of intuition, dreams, and the subconscious. Consider the moon itself, a celestial body forever in flux, reflecting the light of the sun but possessing its own unique pull. Melinoe similarly reflects the powers of her parents, Hades and Persephone, but channels them through her own unique prism of witchcraft. Her necromantic abilities, the power to communicate with and even command the dead, are a clear extension of her father's domain. But unlike Hades' rigid control over the underworld, Melinoe's connection to the departed seems more intimate, more nuanced. She doesn't simply rule them, she to them. What secrets do they whisper? What forgotten lore do they hold? These are the questions that fuel her power. And then there's spirit summoning. We've seen hints of this in gameplay trailers, the ability to call forth spectral allies to aid her in battle. But these aren't just mindless automatons. These are echoes of lives lived, fragments of souls imbued with their own unique strengths and weaknesses. Mastering this ability means understanding the intricacies of the spirit world, knowing which spirits to call upon for which tasks, and perhaps even offering them some form of solace or redemption. But let's dig deeper. What are the of this lunar magic? Is it a power inherited from Persephone, queen of the underworld and goddess of spring, a connection to the cyclical nature of life, death and rebirth? Does it wax and wane with the phases of the moon, granting her greater strength during the full moon and diminishing her power during the new moon? The possibilities are tantalizing. And how does her necromancy function? Can she raise entire armies of the dead? Or is her power more limited, focused on specific spirits with unique skills? Does she need to perform rituals or make offerings to appease the departed, or can she simply command them with her will? These aren't just questions of gameplay mechanics. They are questions of lore, questions that delve into the very heart of Melinoe's character. She is not simply a witch who wields magic, she is a conduit, a bridge between worlds, a living embodiment of the liminal space between life and death, light and darkness. This liminality, this state of being in between, is key to understanding her powers. Think of the crossroads, a traditional symbol of witchcraft, a place where paths converge and decisions are made. Melinoe exists at a crossroads, straddling the realms of the living and the dead, the mortal and the divine. Her powers reflect this duality, allowing her to navigate these different realms with ease and to draw strength from both. Consider also the symbolic significance of the number 3, often associated with witchcraft and the triple goddess, maiden, mother, and crone. Melinoe, as a child of Hades and Persephone, exists within this triad, embodying aspects of all 3 archetypes. She is the maiden, embarking on her own journey of self-discovery. She is the mother, nurturing and protecting those under her care. And she is the crone, wise and knowledgeable in the ways of magic and the mysteries of the underworld. But what makes her witchcraft? We've seen magic in the Hades universe before, primarily through the Olympian boons granted to Zagreus, but those boons felt, external, almost like temporary power-ups. Melinoe's magic, on the other hand, seems intrinsic to her being, woven into her very soul. It's also more versatile. Olympian boons tend to focus on direct combat enhancements, increased damage, elemental effects, improved movement speed. Melinoe's magic, while certainly capable of dealing damage, also seems to offer a wider range of tactical options. Think illusions, enchantments, protective wards, and even the ability to manipulate the environment itself. Imagine her using lunar magic to create a shimmering veil of moonlight, obscuring her movements and confusing her enemies. Or perhaps she could summon a spectral guardian to defend her from attack, a loyal spirit bound to her will. Or maybe she could even alter the very terrain of the underworld, creating temporary pathways or traps to outwit her foes. And what about the tools of her trade? Does she wield a traditional witch's staff, imbued with magical power? Does she carry a grimoire filled with ancient spells and rituals? Does she use herbs and potions to enhance her abilities, or to brew powerful concoctions? The possibilities are endless, and the implications for gameplay are incredibly exciting. The lore implications are even more profound. Her magical heritage connects her to a long and storied tradition of witchcraft, both within the Greek mythological context and beyond. Think of Hecate, the goddess of magic, crossroads, and the night, a powerful figure often associated with witchcraft. Could Melinoe be a descendant of Hecate, or perhaps even a chosen champion of the goddess? And what about other figures from Greek mythology associated with magic and witchcraft, such as Circe, the sorceress who transformed Odysseus's men into swine? Could Melinoe learn from these figures, either through direct interaction or through the study of ancient texts? These connections open up a vast tapestry of narrative possibilities, allowing Supergiant Games to explore themes of magic, power, and the role of women in ancient mythology in new and exciting ways. Melinoe is not just a protagonist, she is a portal to a deeper, more complex understanding of the Hades universe. But perhaps the most intriguing aspect of Melinoe's powers is their potential for transformation, not just for herself, but for the world around her. Her liminal nature, her ability to bridge the gap between worlds, gives her the power to alter reality itself. Imagine her using her magic to heal the wounds of the Underworld, to restore life to barren landscapes, to bring hope to the despairing souls trapped within its depths. Or perhaps she could use her powers to break down the barriers between the Underworld and the mortal realm, allowing spirits to pass freely between the two. These are not just idle speculations, they are hints of the potential that lies within Melinoe, the potential to reshape the very fabric of existence. She is not simply a witch, she is a catalyst for change, a force of nature capable of both destruction and creation. And that raises a crucial question: what will she choose to do with her power? Will she use it to conquer and dominate, to impose her will upon the Underworld and beyond? Or will she use it to heal and restore, to create a better world for all, both living and dead? The answer, of course, lies in her relationships, in the bonds she forges with her family, her allies, and even her enemies. These relationships will shape her character, guide her decisions, and ultimately determine the fate of the Underworld. Which brings us to the heart of the matter, Melinoe's family. We know she's the daughter of Hades and Persephone and the sister of Zagreus. But what of sister is she? What kind of daughter? How do these familial bonds shape her powers, her motivations, and her destiny? That is what we'll delve into next. Chapter 3: Family Bonds and Broken Chains, Relationships within the House of Hades. Melinoe's arrival in the House of Hades wasn't just the introduction of another powerful figure, it was a seismic shift in the family dynamic. You see, the Underworld isn't merely a place of eternal torment and bureaucratic nightmares. It's also, at its heart, a family home, albeit a profoundly dysfunctional one. And like any family, the relationships within it are complex, layered with affection, resentment, and secrets that stretch back millennia. Think about Zagreus. The original game painted him as the ultimate rebel, desperate to escape his father's expectations and find his own path. But now, with Melinoe in the picture, we have to re-evaluate everything we thought we knew about the House of Hades. Was Zagreus's rebellion solely about personal freedom? Or was it also, at least in part, a response to the family dynamics he found himself trapped within? Consider this: Zagreus was the firstborn son, burdened with the weight of expectation. He was expected to inherit the Underworld, to follow in his father's footsteps, a destiny he clearly rejected. But Melinoe's arrival changes the calculus. Suddenly, there's another heir, another child vying for Hades' attention, or perhaps simply for recognition. It's easy to assume that Zagreus and Melinoe would be natural allies, two siblings united against their overbearing father. But the reality is likely far more nuanced. Sibling relationships are rarely simple, especially when divine powers and the fate of the Underworld are involved. There's bound to be a degree of rivalry, a sense of competition, even if it's unconscious. And what about Hades himself? How does he treat Melinoe compared to Zagreus? Did he learn anything from his past mistakes, or is he doomed to repeat them? Is he more accepting of Melinoe's unique powers and her desire to forge her own destiny? Or does he see her as another potential disappointment, another child destined to defy him? The key difference, perhaps, lies in their powers. Zagreus, for all his rebellious spirit, possessed abilities that were, in many ways, extensions of his father's. He was a master of the Underworld, capable of manipulating shadows and commanding the dead. Melinoe, on the other hand, draws her power from the moon, from the liminal spaces between worlds. Her magic is wilder, more unpredictable, and perhaps more threatening to Hades' established order. This divergence in their powers could explain why Hades might be more wary of Melinoe. He understands Zagreus, even if he doesn't approve of his choices. But Melinoe is an enigma, a force he can't easily control, and in the underworld, control is everything. Then there's Persephone. Her relationship with Zagreus was always complicated, marked by a mixture of affection and a sense of distance. After all, she wasn't his biological mother. But with Melinoe, things are different. Melinoe is Persephone's daughter, born of a deception, yes, but still undeniably her child. Does Persephone see Melinoe as a chance to correct the mistake she made with Zagreus? Does she try to shield her from Hades' wrath, to guide her towards a different path? Or is she still too consumed by her own past traumas to be the mother Melinoe needs? The dynamic between Persephone and Melinoe is perhaps the most intriguing aspect of this family drama. It's a relationship built on secrets and lies, on a foundation of pain and loss. But it also holds the potential for healing, for redemption, and for a new kind of family to emerge from the ashes of the old. It's also important to remember the circumstances of Melinoe's birth. The Orphic hymns describe her as being born from Hades' deception of Persephone, a union shrouded in darkness and trickery. This origin story casts a long shadow over Melinoe's life, shaping her identity and influencing her relationships with her family. How does Melinoe feel about being the product of such a traumatic event? Does she resent Hades for his role in her conception? Does she blame Persephone for not being able to protect herself? Or does she see herself as a symbol of resilience, a testament to the power of life to emerge even from the darkest of circumstances? Her birth narrative also raises questions about her connection to the underworld itself. Is she inherently tied to this realm in a way that Zagreus wasn't? Does she possess a deeper understanding of its secrets and its inhabitants? And does this connection give her a unique advantage in her quest to defeat Chronos? The game subtly hints at a deeper connection between Melinoe and the lunar cycle. The moon, a symbol of change, transformation, and the hidden aspects of the self, mirrors Melinoe's own dual nature and her ability to traverse the boundaries between worlds. This lunar connection could also explain her affinity for witchcraft and her ability to commune with spirits. But beyond the immediate family, the House of Hades is also populated by a host of other figures, each with their own agendas and their own relationships with Melinoe. Think about Nyx, the primordial goddess of night, who served as a surrogate mother to Zagreus. How does she view Melinoe? Does she offer her the same guidance and support? Or does she see her as a threat to the established order? And what about the other Olympian gods? They played a significant role in Zagreus' journey, offering him boons and challenges along the way. Will they extend the same courtesy to Melinoe? Or will they see her as an enemy, a force that threatens their own power and authority? The truth is, Melinoe's arrival has disrupted the delicate balance of power in the underworld, forcing everyone to re-evaluate their allegiances and their relationships. And as she embarks on her quest to defeat Chronos, she'll need to navigate these complex relationships carefully, forging alliances where she can and confronting her enemies head-on. But perhaps the most important relationship of all is the one Melinoe has with herself. As a goddess of ghosts and nightmares, she's constantly grappling with her own inner demons, with the darkness that resides within her. Learning to accept and embrace this darkness will be crucial to her success. You see, Melinoe's journey isn't just about defeating Chronos, it's about confronting her own past, healing her own wounds, and ultimately defining her own identity. And as she does so, she'll not only reshape the fate of the underworld, but also redefine what it means to be a family. Consider the implications of Melinoe's liminal nature. She exists between worlds, between life and death, between light and darkness. This duality is reflected in her powers, her personality, and her relationships. She's both a goddess and a witch, both a daughter and a rebel, both a savior and a destroyer. This liminality makes her a powerful force for change, capable of bridging divides and challenging established norms. But it also makes her vulnerable, susceptible to the influence of both light and darkness. And as she delves deeper into her own powers, she'll need to learn how to control these conflicting forces, to harness them for good. The game hints at a deeper connection between Melinoe and the concept of justice. As a goddess associated with ghosts and nightmares, she's often called upon to avenge the wronged and to punish the wicked. This sense of justice could be a driving force behind her quest to defeat Chronos, who represents the ultimate form of injustice, the theft of time itself. But what kind of justice does Melinoe seek? Is it a retributive justice focused on punishment and revenge? Or is it a restorative justice aimed at healing and reconciliation? The answer to this question will likely determine the fate of the Underworld and the future of the House of Hades. The original game explored themes of rebellion, free will, and the acceptance of fate. Hades II seems to be building upon these themes, adding new layers of complexity and nuance. Melinoe's story is a story about breaking free from the chains of the past, about forging your own destiny, and about finding your place in a world that often seems determined to define you. And as you journey alongside Melinoe, you'll be forced to confront your own assumptions about family, about power, and about the nature of good and evil. You'll be challenged to question everything you thought you knew about the Underworld and to embrace the ambiguity and uncertainty that lies at the heart of human existence. Melinoe's relationships within the House of Hades are not static. They are constantly evolving, shifting, and transforming. As she grows in power and confidence, she'll challenge the established order, forcing her family members to confront their own demons and to reevaluate their relationships with one another. This process won't be easy. There will be conflicts, betrayals, and moments of profound heartbreak. But there will also be moments of unexpected tenderness, of forgiveness, and of genuine connection. And in the end, it's these moments that will define the legacy of the House of Hades and the future of the Underworld. The game also suggests that Melinoe's quest is not just about saving the Underworld, it's about saving her family. Chronos' actions have fractured the bonds that hold the House of Hades together, creating rifts and resentments that threaten to tear it apart. By defeating Chronos, Melinoe hopes to restore balance to the Underworld and to heal the wounds that have plagued her family for generations. But can she succeed? Can she overcome the darkness that surrounds her and bring light back to the House of Hades? The answer to this question remains to be seen. But one thing is certain, Melinoe's journey will be a transformative one, not only for herself, but for everyone around her. The dynamic between Melinoe and Hades is particularly fascinating, given their contrasting approaches to leadership. Hades is a strict authoritarian, focused on maintaining order and control. Melinoe, on the other hand, seems to favor a more collaborative and compassionate approach. This clash of ideologies could lead to significant conflict between father and daughter. Hades may see Melinoe's methods as naive and ineffective, while Melinoe may view Hades' methods as outdated and oppressive. But despite their differences, there's also a deep-seated respect between them, a recognition of each other's strengths and weaknesses. Ultimately, their relationship will likely be defined by a process of mutual learning and growth. Hades may learn to loosen his grip on control, while Melinoe may learn the importance of structure and discipline. And together, they may be able to create a new kind of leadership, one that balances order with compassion and tradition with innovation. The game also hints at a potential romantic interest for Melinoe. Several characters seem to be drawn to her, captivated by her power, her intelligence, and her unwavering determination. But Melinoe is not easily swayed. She's focused on her quest, and she's wary of allowing anyone to distract her from her goals. However, as she journeys through the Underworld, she'll inevitably form close bonds with others, forging alliances and friendships that could blossom into something more. And these relationships could play a crucial role in her success, providing her with the emotional support and the strategic guidance she needs to overcome Chronos. But who will be the one to capture Melinoe's heart? Will it be a familiar face from the original game, or a new character introduced in Hades II? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain, Melinoe's romantic relationships will be just as complex and compelling as her relationships with her family. Melinoe's story is a testament to the power of family, both the one you're born into and the one you choose. The House of Hades may be dysfunctional, but it's still a family, bound together by blood, by loyalty, and by a shared history. And as Melinoe fights to save the Underworld, she's also fighting to save her family, to heal their wounds, and to build a brighter future for them all. But this discovery was only the beginning, because next we uncover the secret lore and unexplored relationships that connect Melinoe to figures from Greek mythology beyond the immediate House of Hades. Before we dive deeper into this incredible journey, I'm curious, where in the world are you watching this from? Drop a comment below and let our global community know. And if you're finding this as mind-blowing as I am, hit that like button to help more people discover the story. Chapter 4. The Crisis Unfolds, Melinoe's Role in Cosmic Upheaval. The world of Hades is one where the stakes are always impossibly high. But in Hades II, the familiar struggles within the House of Hades have exploded outward, threatening not just the underworld, but the very fabric of existence. You see, this isn't just a family squabble anymore. The crisis that ignites Melinoe's journey begins with the Titan Chronos, Father Time himself. Imprisoned for eons after the Titanomachy, Chronos has somehow broken free from his chains, unleashing a wave of temporal distortion across the cosmos. His escape is more than just a jailbreak, it's a tear in the tapestry of reality. Imagine the underworld, once a realm of predictable cycles and orderly judgment, now thrown into chaos. Rivers of souls surge and recede erratically, the very ground trembling with the echoes of shattered timelines. The familiar routines of the House of Hades are disrupted, its inhabitants thrown into disarray. But Chronos' influence isn't limited to the underworld. The disruption extends to the mortal realm, where history itself begins to unravel. Ancient heroes are erased from the annals of time, legendary cities crumble into dust, and the natural order of life and death is thrown into complete turmoil. Even Olympus, the seat of the gods, feels the tremors of Chronos' power. The Olympians, normally aloof and untouchable, find their own domains threatened by the Titan's temporal manipulations. So, how did Chronos manage to escape his seemingly inescapable prison? That's the question that haunts the early hours of Hades II. The answer, as you might expect, is shrouded in mystery and steeped in betrayal. It seems that powerful forces, both within and beyond the underworld, conspired to aid Chronos in his release. Whispers of secret alliances and forgotten pacts circulate among the shades, hinting at a deeper conspiracy at play. Perhaps some sought to exploit Chronos' power for their own gain, envisioning a world reshaped to their liking. Others may have been motivated by a desire for revenge, seeking to settle old scores against the Olympians or the House of Hades. Whatever their reasons, their actions have unleashed a cataclysm that threatens to consume everything. Now, consider Melinoe's position in all of this. She's not just a passive observer, she's thrust into the heart of the crisis, burdened with a responsibility she never asked for. Her unique abilities, honed through years of training in witchcraft and necromancy, make her the only one capable of confronting Chronos and his allies. But her path is fraught with peril. She must venture into the deepest, darkest corners of the underworld, facing hordes of monstrous creatures and navigating treacherous landscapes twisted by Chronos' temporal influence. She must also confront the political machinations and personal betrayals that plague the House of Hades, learning to trust her instincts and forge alliances with unlikely allies. Melinoe's role as a victim is undeniable. She's forced to confront a crisis not of her own making, burdened with the weight of saving the world from annihilation, but she's also a potential savior, possessing the power and determination to challenge even the mightiest of titans. Her journey is one of transformation, as she evolves from a dutiful daughter into a fierce warrior and a leader capable of uniting disparate forces against a common enemy. The political implications of Chronos' escape are far-reaching. The balance of power between the gods, titans, and the denizens of the underworld is shattered, creating a volatile environment ripe for conflict. Alliances shift and crumble as factions vie for dominance, each seeking to exploit the chaos for their own benefit. Hades, normally a figure of unwavering authority, finds his power challenged by the unfolding events. His control over the underworld weakens as Chronos' influence spreads, forcing him to rely on Melinoe's abilities to restore order. Persephone, torn between her loyalty to her husband and her own hidden agendas, becomes a key player in the political drama, her decisions shaping the course of the conflict. And the Olympians, observing the chaos from afar, must decide whether to intervene directly or allow the underworld to descend into complete anarchy. Their decision will have profound consequences for the fate of both gods and mortals. The cosmic implications are even more staggering. Chronos' manipulation of time threatens to unravel the very fabric of reality, potentially erasing entire civilizations and altering the course of history. The concept of fate itself is called into question, as the past, present, and future become malleable and uncertain. The laws of physics bend and break, creating paradoxes and anomalies that defy explanation. The very foundations of the mythological order are shaken, forcing the gods and mortals alike to confront the fragility of their existence. Melinoe's unique perspective, shaped by her dual nature and her liminal existence between worlds, positions her as the key to resolving these conflicts. She understands the interconnectedness of time, magic, and the spirit world, allowing her to see solutions that others cannot. Her ability to traverse the boundaries between life and death, past and present, makes her the only one capable of navigating the treacherous currents of Chronos' temporal storm. She must harness her powers to restore balance to the cosmos, repairing the tears in the fabric of reality and preventing Chronos from rewriting history. But her journey will not be easy. She will face countless obstacles, both physical and emotional, testing her resolve and pushing her to the very limits of her abilities. Consider the foes that stand in her path. Chronos commands a vast army of titans, monstrous creatures from the dawn of time, each possessing immense power and a burning hatred for the gods. He also commands legions of shades, twisted and corrupted by his temporal influence, their minds shattered and their bodies warped into grotesque parodies of their former selves. And then there are the human collaborators, mortals who have pledged their allegiance to Chronos in exchange for power or immortality. These traitors, driven by greed and ambition, are willing to sacrifice everything to see Chronos triumph. Melinoe must confront these enemies on multiple fronts, battling them in the underworld, the mortal realm, and even on Olympus itself. She must also overcome her own personal demons, confronting her fears and insecurities, and learning to trust in her own abilities. She must reconcile her conflicting loyalties to her family, her friends, and her own sense of justice. Her journey is one of self-discovery, as she uncovers hidden truths about her past and embraces her destiny as a warrior and a leader. The unfolding events force Melinoe to question everything she thought she knew about her family. The secrets and lies that have been buried for generations begin to surface, revealing hidden aspects of Hades, Persephone, and even Zagreus. She learns that her family's history is far more complex and intertwined than she ever imagined, and that the choices they made in the past have profound consequences for the present. She must navigate these treacherous family dynamics, forging alliances with those she can trust and confronting those who seek to undermine her. Her relationships with her parents, in particular, become increasingly strained as she uncovers their hidden agendas and challenges their authority. She must decide whether to follow in their footsteps or forge her own path, even if it means defying their expectations. The political landscape of the underworld is further complicated by the presence of other factions vying for power. The Shades, the restless spirits of the dead, are divided into various groups, each with its own agenda and its own leader. Some seek to restore order to the underworld, while others seek to exploit the chaos for their own gain. Melinoe must navigate these complex relationships, forging alliances with those who share her goals and confronting those who stand in her way. She must also contend with the machinations of the gods, who are often more interested in their own petty squabbles than in the fate of the world. The Olympians, divided by their own rivalries and ambitions, struggle to agree on a course of action, leaving Melinoe to shoulder the burden of saving the world. But Melinoe is not alone in her fight. She gathers a diverse group of allies, each with their own unique skills and motivations. From forgotten gods to rebellious shades, she unites a band of unlikely heroes to stand against Chronos and his forces. These allies provide her with support, guidance, and companionship, helping her to overcome the challenges she faces and reminding her that she is not alone in her struggle. Their combined strength and determination give Melinoe the courage to face even the most daunting of obstacles, knowing that she has friends who believe in her and are willing to fight alongside her. The political and cosmic implications of Melinoe's quest are vast and far-reaching. Her success or failure will determine the fate of the underworld, the mortal realm, and the very fabric of reality. The stakes are higher than ever before, and the consequences of failure are unimaginable. Melinoe must rise to the challenge, embracing her destiny as a warrior and a leader, and fighting to protect the world from the forces of chaos. But what if the help she receives comes with a hidden price? What if the allies she trusts are not who they seem? The mysteries surrounding Melinoe's journey deepen with each step, and the answers she seeks may be more dangerous than she ever imagined. because next, we peel back the layers of deception to uncover the hidden connections that bind Melinoe to figures from the past, exploring secret lore and unexplored relationships that will forever change your understanding of the Hades universe. Chapter 5: Hidden Connections, Secret Lore and Unexplored Relationships. Melinoe, as we've seen, is far more than just a daughter of Hades and Persephone. She's a nexus point, a crossroads where ancient myths collide and new stories are born. But what if her story stretches even further, beyond what's immediately apparent in Hades II? What if the game is hinting at connections to figures and traditions that lie just beneath the surface, waiting to be unearthed? Think about the nature of myth itself. It's rarely a static, fixed thing. Myths evolve, adapt, and intertwine across cultures and time periods. The gods and goddesses of ancient Greece were often syncretized with deities from other pantheons, their attributes and stories blending together to create new, hybrid figures. Is Supergiant Games playing with this idea, subtly weaving in connections to other mythic figures through Melinoe? One intriguing possibility lies in her connection to Hecate, the goddess of witchcraft, crossroads, and the night. Hecate, like Melinoe, is a liminal figure associated with the boundaries between worlds and the mysteries of magic. Both are strongly tied to the moon, to darkness, and to the power of the unseen. While Hecate hasn't explicitly appeared in either Hades game, her influence feels almost palpable in Melinoe's design and abilities. The lunar magic she wields, her mastery of necromancy, her ability to summon spirits, these are all hallmarks of Hecate's domain. Could Melinoe be, in some way, a manifestation or aspect of Hecate herself, or perhaps a descendant of her lineage? The Orphic hymns, which are so crucial to understanding Melinoe's origins, also provide clues about Hecate's role in the cosmos. They depict her as a powerful, independent goddess, a key player in the mysteries of life and death. If Supergiant Games is drawing so heavily from Orphic tradition, it seems unlikely they would completely ignore Hecate, a figure so closely associated with Melinoe's established domains. Perhaps future updates or even a potential Hades 3 could delve deeper into this connection, exploring the relationship between these two powerful goddesses of the night. Then there's the question of Melinoe's potential ties to other mystery cults. Ancient Greece was rife with secret societies and religious orders that practiced esoteric rituals and worshipped deities in hidden ways. The Eleusinian mysteries, dedicated to Demeter and Persephone, are perhaps the most famous example, but there were many others, each with its own unique set of beliefs and practices. Given Melinoe's connection to Persephone and the Underworld, it's conceivable that she could be associated with one or more of these lesser-known mystery cults. Imagine a hidden order of priestesses who venerate Melinoe as a goddess of dreams and visions, believing she holds the key to unlocking the secrets of the afterlife. These priestesses might possess unique magical abilities, passed down through generations, that are distinct from the powers wielded by the Olympians or even the inhabitants of the House of Hades. Perhaps they could even offer Melinoe assistance in her quest, providing her with rare artifacts or forgotten spells that could turn the tide against the Titan Chronos. The very nature of Melinoe's dual form also hints at deeper, unexplored connections. We know she's depicted as being half light and half darkness, representing her mixed parentage and her role as a bridge between worlds. But what if this duality extends beyond her physical appearance and permeates her very being, connecting her to other figures who embody similar contradictions? Consider the concept of Tha, a ritual scapegoat in ancient Greek society who was both revered and reviled, seen as both a source of purification and a carrier of pollution. Tha was often a marginalized individual, someone who existed on the fringes of society, embodying the anxieties and fears of the community. In a way, Melinoe occupies a similar position. She's an outsider within her own family, a figure of both power and vulnerability, burdened with the task of confronting a threat that no one else can face. Could her dual nature, her status as a liminal being, connect her to this ancient ritual archetype? Furthermore, the colors associated with Melinoe, particularly purple and white, carry symbolic weight that could point to hidden connections. Purple, historically associated with royalty and power, suggests her divine lineage and her potential to rule. White, on the other hand, symbolizes purity, innocence, and the spectral realm. The combination of these colors in her design could be a subtle nod to her role as a bridge between the mortal and immortal worlds, between the realms of light and darkness. But perhaps the most intriguing possibility lies in Melinoe's potential connection to figures who haven't yet appeared in the Hades universe. The Greek pantheon is vast and complex, filled with countless gods, goddesses, heroes, and monsters, each with their own unique stories and attributes. Supergiant Games has only scratched the surface of this rich mythological landscape. What if Melinoe's quest to defeat Chronos leads her to seek out the aid of other forgotten or marginalized deities? Imagine her forging an alliance with Nyx, the primordial goddess of the night, whose power rivals even that of the Olympians. Or perhaps she could encounter the Erinyes, the Furies, ancient goddesses of vengeance who could offer her their ruthless justice in her fight against the Titans. The possibilities are endless, and Supergiant Games has proven time and again their ability to surprise and delight players with unexpected twists and turns. It's entirely possible that Melinoe's story will lead us down paths we never could have imagined, introducing us to new characters and revealing hidden aspects of the Greek mythological world. Think about the subtle hints scattered throughout Hades II, the Easter eggs and cryptic references that seem to point to something larger, something just beyond our grasp. The design of certain weapons, the dialogue of certain characters, the architecture of certain locations, all of these details could be clues waiting to be deciphered. For example, the presence of certain herbs and plants in the game could be a subtle nod to specific mythological figures or events. The use of particular musical motifs could be a way of foreshadowing future plot developments. Even the names of certain enemies or locations could hold hidden meanings, revealing connections to characters or stories that have yet to be fully explored. It's also worth considering the potential influence of other cultural traditions on Melinoe's character. While Hades II is firmly rooted in Greek mythology, Supergiant Games has never shied away from incorporating elements from other cultures into their games. Could there be subtle nods to Celtic, Egyptian, or even Eastern mythology in Melinoe's design or abilities? Perhaps her lunar magic draws inspiration from ancient lunar deities worshipped in other parts of the world. Maybe her connection to the spirit world is influenced by shamanic traditions from different cultures. It's even possible that her dual nature is a reflection of similar concepts found in other mythological systems, such as the yin and yang of Taoism. One particularly compelling theory revolves around Melinoe's potential connection to the Fates, also known as the Moirai. In Greek mythology, the Fates are three ancient goddesses who control the threads of destiny, determining the course of every mortal and immortal life. They are often depicted as spinning, measuring, and cutting the threads of fate, symbolizing the beginning, duration, and end of life. While the Fates haven't explicitly appeared in either Hades game, their presence is felt throughout the narrative. The concept of fate versus free will is a recurring theme, and the characters are constantly grappling with the question of whether they can truly change their destinies. Given Melinoe's unique position as a figure who exists outside the traditional boundaries of fate, it's possible that she could have a special connection to the Fates. Perhaps she possesses the ability to glimpse the threads of destiny, to see the different paths that lie before her, and to make choices that can alter the course of events. Maybe she even has the power to influence the Fates themselves, to persuade them to change their decrees or to weave new threads of possibility. The implications of such a connection would be enormous, potentially reshaping our understanding of the entire Hades universe. It would suggest that Melinoe is not just a pawn in the hands of fate, but a powerful agent with the ability to shape her own destiny and the destinies of others. And what about the other gods and goddesses of Olympus? While many of them played a role in the original Hades, their presence has been less prominent in Hades II so far. Could this be a deliberate choice on Supergiant Games' part, a way of setting the stage for their eventual return in a more significant way? Imagine Melinoe being forced to seek the aid of Zeus, the king of the gods, despite his complicated relationship with her father Hades. Or perhaps she could forge an alliance with Athena, the goddess of wisdom and warfare, who could offer her strategic guidance in her fight against the Titans. It's even possible that some of the Olympians could become antagonists in the story, opposing Melinoe's quest for their own selfish reasons. The gods are not always benevolent, and their motivations are often shrouded in mystery. Their involvement could add another layer of complexity to the narrative, forcing Melinoe to make difficult choices and to confront the darker aspects of the Olympian pantheon. Ultimately, the true extent of Melinoe's hidden connections remains to be seen. Supergiant Games has crafted a rich and intricate world filled with endless possibilities for exploration and discovery. As we delve deeper into Hades II, we can expect to uncover new secrets, to forge new alliances, and to confront new challenges that will test Melinoe's strength and resolve. The beauty of mythology lies in its inherent ambiguity, its capacity for endless interpretation and reinterpretation. Supergiant Games understands this perfectly, and they've created a game that invites us to question, to speculate, and to imagine the countless possibilities that lie just beyond the veil. But this journey into the hidden corners of Melinoe's world is far from over. We've only just begun to scratch the surface of her potential connections and the deeper lore that surrounds her. Because next, we must confront the very crisis that has thrust Melinoe into this role, and understand the cosmic upheaval she must now face to save not just her family, but the entire Underworld. I hope you're as amazed by this as I am. If you want to stay updated on more content like this, make sure to subscribe and join our community of curious minds. Trust me, what's coming next will challenge everything you thought you knew. Chapter 6: Legacy of the Moon. Melinoe's impact on the Hades universe and beyond. Melinoe's arrival on the scene wasn't just about adding another name to the already crowded pantheon of Greek mythology, even in the reimagined world Supergiant Games has crafted. It was about shifting perspectives, about allowing us to see the familiar through a different lens, a lens tinted by moonlight and fueled by the very essence of liminality. Think about it. The original Hades was, at its heart, a story of rebellion, of breaking free from the confines of destiny and forging your own path. Zagreus, charmingly defiant, battered his way through the underworld again and again, fueled by a desire to escape his father's shadow and discover the truth of his own origins. But Melinoe? Her story is inherently different. It's not about escaping, but about confronting. It's not about personal liberation, but about restoring balance. This fundamental shift changes everything. Thematically, this is huge. Hades explored themes of family, duty, and the struggle for individuality. Hades 2 takes these concepts and adds layers of complexity. We're no longer just dealing with the constraints of a single, overbearing parent, but with a cosmic imbalance that threatens the very fabric of existence. Melinoe isn't just fighting for herself, she's fighting for everyone, for the underworld, for the balance between life and death itself. This expanded thematic scope is critical. It allows Supergiant Games to delve into darker, more nuanced territory. The original game had its moments of melancholy and reflection, but Hades II seems poised to explore the true depths of despair, the chilling realities of cosmic horror, and the sacrifices required to confront such overwhelming forces. Melinoe, as a character born of darkness and possessing the power to command spirits, is perfectly positioned to navigate this treacherous landscape. Consider her powers. Zagreus relied on brute strength, speed, and the blessings of the Olympian gods to achieve his goals. Melinoe, on the other hand, draws her strength from the moon, from the spectral realm, and from the ancient practices of witchcraft. This isn't just a cosmetic difference, it reflects a fundamentally different approach to problem-solving. Zagreus was a warrior. Melinoe is a strategist, a manipulator of energies, a weaver of spells. This difference extends to the gameplay itself. The original Hades was a fast-paced, action-packed roguelike. While Hades II retains those core elements, it introduces new mechanics that emphasize Melinoe's unique abilities. We're seeing more emphasis on resource management, on strategic spellcasting, and on manipulating the environment to our advantage. It's a more cerebral, deliberate style of play that perfectly complements Melinoe's character. But the impact goes beyond gameplay. Melinoe's presence forces us to re-evaluate our understanding of the characters we thought we knew. Hades, for example, is no longer simply the stern, unyielding ruler of the underworld. Glimpses of a father, perhaps even a loving one, albeit in his own peculiar way. His interactions with Melinoe reveal a vulnerability that was largely absent in the first game. And what about Persephone? Her role in Melinoe's life is shrouded in mystery, but it's clear that their relationship is far more complex than a simple mother-daughter dynamic. The circumstances of Melinoe's birth, the deception involved, all point to a deeper, more significant connection that has yet to be fully explored. What secrets does Persephone hold, and how will those secrets impact Melinoe's quest? The introduction of new characters further enriches the Hades universe. Hecate, the goddess of witchcraft, serves as a mentor to Melinoe, guiding her on her path and unlocking the full potential of her powers. Her presence adds another layer of depth to the game's lore, exploring the ancient traditions and esoteric practices that underpin Melinoe's abilities. Then there are the other figures we've glimpsed in trailers and promotional materials. Moros, the embodiment of doom, seems poised to play a significant role in the unfolding narrative. His connection to Melinoe remains unclear, but his ominous presence suggests that the stakes are higher than ever before. The Fates, always present in the background, seem to be taking a more active interest in Melinoe's journey, hinting at a destiny that is both terrifying and inevitable. Even the original cast of characters from Hades feel different in the sequel. They react to Melinoe in unique ways, revealing new facets of their personalities and motivations. Achilles, for example, seems to adopt a more paternal role, offering guidance and support to the young witch. Thanatos, ever the stoic reaper, displays a grudging respect for Melinoe's power and determination. It's not just about adding new characters, though. It's about expanding the world itself. Hades II takes us beyond the confines of the Underworld, venturing into new and unfamiliar realms. We've seen glimpses of the surface world, now corrupted and twisted by the titan Chronos. We've also seen hints of other mythological locations, realms of dreams and nightmares, places where the boundaries between reality and illusion blur. This expansion of the game's world is crucial. It allows Supergiant Games to explore new themes and ideas, to delve into the darker corners of Greek mythology, and to create a truly immersive and unforgettable experience. Melinoe, as a character who embodies the liminal, is the perfect guide to navigate these uncharted territories. But perhaps the most significant impact of Melinoe's arrival is the way she challenges our understanding of mythological storytelling itself. Supergiant Games has always been adept at subverting expectations, at taking familiar stories and twisting them into something new and unexpected. With Melinoe, they're pushing those boundaries even further. She's not just a female protagonist in a traditionally male-dominated genre. She's a character who embodies the complexities of female identity, who struggles with her own inner demons, and who ultimately triumphs through her own strength and resilience. She's a role model for a new generation of gamers, a symbol of empowerment and self-discovery. And that's what makes her so important. Melinoe isn't just a character in a video game, she's a cultural icon. She represents a shift in the way we tell stories, a move towards more diverse and inclusive narratives, and a recognition of the power of female voices. She's a reminder that even in the darkest of times there is always hope, and that even the most marginalized among us can rise to become heroes. Think about the implications for future games. Melinoe's success paves the way for more female-led narratives, for more diverse casts of characters, and for more stories that challenge traditional gender roles. It shows that gamers are hungry for these kinds of experiences, that they're eager to connect with characters who reflect their own experiences and perspectives. It also opens up new possibilities for Supergiant Games themselves. They've proven that they can take a relatively obscure mythological figure and transform her into a compelling and relatable protagonist. What other stories are waiting to be told? What other forgotten gods and goddesses deserve their moment in the spotlight? The possibilities are endless. We could see a game focused on Hecate, exploring the mysteries of witchcraft and the ancient traditions of the craft. We could see a game focused on Persephone, delving into the complexities of her relationship with Hades and her own struggles with identity and power. We could even see a game that explores the stories of other forgotten figures from Greek mythology, characters like Hecate's priestess Circe or the river nymph Cyane. The beauty of the Hades universe is that it's constantly expanding, constantly evolving. It's a living, breathing world that is ripe with possibilities. Melinoe's arrival has only served to enrich that world, to add new layers of depth and complexity, and to inspire us to look at these familiar stories in a whole new light. And let's not forget the impact on the indie game landscape as a whole. Supergiant Games has always been a trendsetter, a pioneer in the world of independent game development. Their success with Hades, and now with Hades II, serves as an inspiration to other developers, showing them that it's possible to create commercially successful and critically acclaimed games without sacrificing artistic integrity. Melinoe's story is a testament to the power of independent game development, to the ability of small teams to create experiences that rival those of the biggest studios. It's a reminder that innovation and creativity can thrive outside of the traditional corporate structure, and that gamers are willing to support developers who are passionate about their craft. But what about the future of the Hades franchise itself? Where does Supergiant Games go from here? Will there be a Hades III? Will Melinoe continue to be the protagonist? Or will a new character take center stage? These are all questions that are undoubtedly on the minds of fans around the world. While Supergiant Games has remained tight-lipped about their future plans, it's clear that they have a long-term vision for the Hades universe. They've created a world that is rich with lore, filled with compelling characters, and ripe with storytelling possibilities. It's entirely possible that we could see a direct sequel to Hades II, one that continues Melinoe's story and explores the aftermath of her battle with Chronos. We could see her facing new challenges, confronting new enemies, and forging new alliances. We could see her grappling with the consequences of her actions and struggling to maintain the balance between the underworld and the surface world. Alternatively, we could see a prequel, one that delves into the origins of the Hades universe and explores the stories of characters like Hades and Persephone before the events of the first game. This would allow Supergiant Games to fill in some of the gaps in the lore, to explore the relationships between these characters in greater detail, and to provide a new perspective on the events that have already transpired. Of course, there's also the possibility that we could see a completely new story set within the Hades universe, one that features a new protagonist and explores a different aspect of Greek mythology. This would allow Supergiant Games to experiment with new gameplay mechanics, to introduce new characters, and to expand the world in unexpected ways. Regardless of what the future holds, one thing is certain: Melinoe's impact on the Hades universe will be felt for years to come. She's not just a character, she's a symbol of change, a reminder that even in the darkest of times there is always hope, and that even the most marginalized among us can rise to become heroes. Her legacy will continue to inspire gamers and developers alike, shaping the future of interactive mythological storytelling for generations to come. Melinoe's journey, however, may have just scratched the surface of something far grander. The whispers of forgotten deities, the subtle hints of connections to other mythologies, these threads suggest a tapestry far more intricate than we initially imagined. But to understand the full scope of this tapestry, we must delve into the esoteric, examining the secret lore and unexplored relationships that lie hidden beneath the surface. What rituals birthed her powers, and who else shares her unique connection to the moon?